Now that's it for the changes you should be aware of. Now let's dive into the new features. Here we got a teleport component and a feature called fragments. Now what's that all about? Again, I prepared something for you, the teleport fragments folder. Let's dive into that. And npm install and npm run serve. Once this is up and running, if I reload, that is what I got. And if I click on a button here, I get this modal where I can confirm that I want to deactivate this or cancel. And if I confirm, it's gone. So a very simple dummy app here using view free. Now here we can use two new features, teleport and fragments. Let's start with teleport. If I open this modal, we can inspect this in the DevTools. And here in the Elements tab, we actually see that this dialog and the backdrop is rendered somewhere nested in our element tree, right? So this is the real DOM and our backdrop and dialog is deeply nested in the DOM. Now, visually, that's no problem, but it's actually not perfect for semantics, for accessibility maybe, and it could even break your styling if you don't work with setIndex, for example. In general, this of course should be an overlay to the app, so logically it should not be deeply nested in the DOM tree. Instead, it should be directly inside of the body, for example. Now, this is not something you technically need, but it simply would be a bit better logically, semantically, from accessibility perspectives. And hence, it would be great if we could move this div and the dialog to a different place in the DOM. With Vue 2, this wasn't really possible. With Vue 3, it is. We now got a feature called teleport. If you know React, there it's called portal. Now, how does it work? In the component where you want to move things, for example, here in the confirm dialog component, you can simply wrap your entire component here, your entire template, with a new built-in teleport component, just like this. And then on teleport, you need the to prop where you pass in a CSS selector. For example, selecting the body element to make it clear that everything in here should actually be rendered directly in the body. Now you still use this component as you did before, so I can still use it in the template of another nested component as I'm doing here in admin mode. This is still possible. We can still pass props to this component, listen to events. This all works as you learned it. But now the actual DOM which is rendered will be rendered in a different place. If we save that and reload, I can still view this modal. But if we now inspect it, we see this div, the backdrop, the dialog, and the div which holds both, that's now directly in the body. It's not deeply nested in our other component tree, in our other node tree, I should say. So that's teleport, a nice new feature which allows you to write semantically more correct HTML code, I guess. Another nice feature is the fragment feature. Here in admin mode, I got this confirmed dialog inside of this list item. Now technically I can place it anywhere because we just learned that the HTML code will be rendered somewhere else. But still, to make it clear that this is not really in the list item, it just belongs to this component, we might want to move it out of there. And with Vue 2 this was not allowed. My IDE still gives me an error here, but I can tell you with Vue 3 this is allowed. With Vue 3 you may have multiple root elements inside of your component template. You're not restricted to have just one. You can have multiple sibling elements directly in your template. This is new. This was not supported with Vue 2. Now with Vue 3, this works, as you can tell. We got no error here. And that's teleport and fragments. Now the biggest new feature, which is 100% optional, is the composition API. The composition API can replace the existing options API. And I actually want to take a closer look at this composition API. Therefore, I have this in a separate lecture right after this lecture. Before we go to that separate video though, here's the last new feature I want to touch on. It's kind of new, TypeScript support. You always could use TypeScript with Vue, With Vue 3, it's now easier because Vue 3 internally is built with TypeScript. Now, if you want to learn more about that, I recommend the official docs. There, you can learn all about TypeScript support and how to use TypeScript in your Vue 3 projects and how to write TypeScript code there. It's an alternative. You don't have to use TypeScript. I'm using JavaScript in most of my projects, but you can use TypeScript if you prefer that.